with me in the studio, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi, who is a well-known, very seasoned current affairs analyst. He's also a professor of communications at Baze University here in Abuja. Prof, thank you very much indeed for your patience.
Thank you, Charles.
This is a complete rout, isn't it, of the PDP in Delta State?
Well, it's interesting, but it's not surprising, really. And of course, it was only yesterday that we were discussing, the tendency of politicians. The activities, the way they politic is not necessarily about morality, it's not necessarily about rationality, not necessarily about ideology, but about what suits their interests, what is expedient for them at every point in time, and they take this decision without necessarily minding whose ox is God, without any concern for what the people will think about them, or for what just about any other person will say, as long as it suits their own political calculation. They make that decision. But there are two things that I can probably bring out from here. One is that it's an occasion. The event is a reason why a PDP, should probably wake up. If it was asleep before, this is the time for reawakening. They should probably be much more introspective and see how they can resolve their crisis to prevent other people from having plausible reason to exit their rank, considering how illustrious that party has been in the evolution of Nigerian democracy. And of course, how can they resolve the problem in the circumstances that we're in? One is maybe between former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and of course the very popular Minister Wike, who by all means is doing very well in Abuja anyway. But his politics, has not, alongside that of Atiku Abubakar, has not helped that political party. Is it that the two of them come together, or maybe a third party within the PDP rank, will probably rise and try to re-energize the party? And secondly, Charles, you raised the question about the death of opposition on account of a lot of people defecting to APC. I don't think so. Sometimes you also see opposition arising from a particular party. The internal dynamics of a particular party can bring up opposition. You and I are witnesses to the activities of Ndume, for instance, who is a member of
Senator Ali
Senator, I beg your pardon, right. Senator Ali Ndume, who is a member of the APC. What more opposition do you think APC need other than what Ndume is doing? And so we'll see how people who provide countermanding opinion to the party, even though it does appear as if we are tending towards a one-party state. And of course, the civil society is there, the media is there. So I'm not concerned really about that, but what matters is the quality of our democracy, the quality of the attitude of our democracy, the character that we are injecting into the process, We need more level of principle. Look at this from 2023, for instance. Yes, maybe I can cite the example of Chief Dele Momodu, for instance. He's been very, very close to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu even before he became president. And of course, but he pitched his tent with Atiku Abubakar, and he's one of the very few persons, who have, remained committed, to the pre-2023 standing, not potting to Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu on account of becoming presidency. So those are the very few examples we can cite, but we need a lot more of them, be more principled, be more committed to ideology, and not moving, not being susceptible to the vagaries of the wind like the proverbial desert sand.
But of course, you touched on the PDP, who is the, the party that has lost big time in all of this. This is not only a big political blow, but a big symbolic blow as well. When someone as high as its vice presidential candidate defects.
Yeah, but it's not the first time we're going to see a vice presidential candidate defecting. His Excellency former Governor Peter Obi, ran with Atiku in the 2019 presidential election, right? But he defected in the build-up to the 2023 presidential election.
Well, he would say that he resigned from the PDP.
Okay, he resigned, but he made a statement.
Because the environment just was not conducive, and a lot of people agreed with it.
Absolutely. But he made a statement, by going into a relatively unknown party and redefining that party. And of course, the story of the Labour Party changed. So we can still see some more of these things. And of course, it's not the first time. And it's not the first time we're going to see a governor defect as well. The present Minister of Works, was in a different party but defected to APC, sometimes before the 2023 presidential election. So we keep seeing these defections, and of course it is about the interest that serves them at a particular point in time, and they won't really mind what anyone thinks, really. But PDP, there's still hope for PDP, really, and we shouldn't just see this, from the micro point of view. You will emphasize we're looking at the macro. We do not yet know what will happen in the northern bloc. It's also very significant.
Yeah, but we don't also know whether we can expect more governors, because the
could,
air is rife.
That's right.
With all kinds of reports that a lot of governors, more governors, are planning to defect to the APC from the PDP.
But what about if governors in APC also defect to the PDP in the north?
Well, conventional wisdom suggests that that is unlikely to happen at the moment.
Okay, we hope so. But again, I just want to make this point that sometimes, again, it may not just be winning an election. Losing or winning may not be a function of the party that you belong. It could be about the individual, for instance. If an individual is charismatic, he can pull lots of votes.
I mean, there's nobody's saying that it's a fait accompli.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But the PDP, though, in their defense, I guess, with a bit of egg on your face, you would kind of defend yourself. But the PDP are claiming that these people defected because they were forced to do so because of problems at the EFCC. You had me asking Charles Aniagwu that. They claim the APC is coercing people so Tinubu can get his second term. Is that fair? Because, they didn't look like people who were being coerced, did they? Well, I don't suppose it's written on somebody's face.
I think it's very interesting. Politicians can throw jabs at each other, as it suits them. And of course, it looks speculative. It's something that is very difficult for us to place a hand on. We're not there. They only just said it. There's no evidence to prove it. But if that is actually the case, it would really be unfortunate. But from what I'm going to go by what Aniagwu said, an eloquent speaker anytime. I'm going to go by what he said, that didn't really happen. They made substantial consultation, and they were convinced that the safest place for them to be in the circumstance is APC. But I also wonder where it leaves former Deputy Senate President Omo Agege.
Well, that was going to be my next question. What is this likely to mean for the APC members who've been with the APC all along and helped to build the party in the state? And of course, you mentioned a particular name.
He had a very good run in the last governorship election in Delta, and he was even probably still hoping, to govern that state, by probably defeating the incumbents. If not in the next election, maybe in the election after. But this has really happened now. But I think, going by how politicians behave, they will find a way to accommodate him. And at the end of the day, he might just be satisfied. But again, if he's not properly accommodated, he might also go to another political party, because as an individual, he's also a very strong politician and not less influential in Delta. So I think these things will continue to play out. We'll see. Interesting times are ahead. But the other worrisome thing is that we're beginning too early to worry about the 2027 presidential election. Like we've always said, it's not even effectively midterm yet, and the frenzy is in the atmosphere, So what will happen to governance, What will happen to the interest, the yearnings and aspirations of the people with regards to politicians or leaders' attempt to meet them, as the case could be? We shouldn't lose sight of these other efforts, also very, very important, while the politicking continues.
Prof, I want to thank you very much indeed. Professor Abiodun Adeniyi is a current affairs analyst, and he is a professor of communications at Baze University here in Abuja. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.